All right. How to get positive ROI from your digital marketing. What I'm actually going to show you guys is this whole presentation originated from an internal resource that we created for our own agency. So we're a Sydney-based agency, but we've got a team all over Australia, a team of 15. And we, about 2 years ago, we were faced with the challenge of how do we systemize growth? Because we do a lot of big performance-based jobs where big corporates will bring us in and they'll be like, we've got this particular sales or growth outcome that we really need to accomplish. Otherwise, our board of directors or our shareholders kick our bum. We're miles short of the target. We need you to do it. And so we had to come up with a scalable, repeatable process that we could use. So we came up with a system that I'm going to walk you guys through today. There's no sell at the end of this. I'm going to give you 2 free resources at the end of this presentation that you guys can use to do exactly what I'm going to walk you through. Cool? All righty, let's go through it. A little bit about us. So we like to refer to ourselves as an outcomes agency because it's not that we specialize in SEO or this or that, the other. The reality is we have to help people. We work with one established business for every industry sector to help them accomplish whatever their most needed sales or marketing outcome is. The most common outcome people come to us wanting is more sales, more leads, which is quite ironic. I'm going to talk a little bit as this goes through about the difference between people's marketing, like the symptom and the problem, because the symptom and the problem are very often 2 distinctly different things. Who am I? Father nerd, coffee addict. When Dale said I got 50 minutes, the first thing I did was go and make myself a strong double cappuccino here in my favorite Star Wars cup, just to show you how much of a nerd I am. Father, so I'm based here in the Sutherland Shire in Sydney. My biggest hobbies, I've become absolutely obsessed with coaching all my kids' sporting teams, which is a bit of a joke here locally because all the other dads are like ex-Cronulla Shark League legends. And then there's me, like the digital marketing nut. But our team's winning, so stuff everybody else, and we've got a better website than all of them. All right, so let's keep going. This presentation, look, guys, I pre-warn you, I'm going to throw lots at you. Like this is just going to be me giving you as much, basically vomiting as much value in your lap as I can in the 50 minutes. To make it easier for you guys to get the value, we've included links, as Dale said just before I came on. You guys will get a copy of the slides, yeah. And my team have been kind enough to create some resources, a resources page, and a few other things, so that most of what I'm going to talk about here, you can, if you can't get it in the slides, you can go straight to this page, and it's all on there waiting for you. Cool. So you don't have to worry too much about disconnecting and taking notes. You can just stay up here with me. All right. So this is, I mentioned at the start that we were faced with a challenge about 2 years ago of how do we systemize growth? How do I have it so regardless of which one of my team members walk into a small family business or a big corporate, how do we easily get to the bottom of here's the biggest roadblock in whatever digital marketing campaign they're doing, be it their search marketing, an email campaign, what have you. And how does that person basically uncover what lever to pull and when? So we came up with a system we've called it sales engine optimization. Yeah. And so in our industry, and I'm sure you guys will all be familiar with this, is that people get so caught up talking about things that can be leading indicators for success, but aren't money in the bank. Stuff like Google rankings and likes and shares and all this sort of stuff, which isn't really what you're ultimately looking for. So sales engine optimization is basically the process that allows you to straight away work out, here's the current biggest roadblock, and here's what I need to do to remove it. And I very intentionally said the word current because the nature of when you get marketing right and the very nature of adding scale is by solving one problem, you actually create another. So it's a continual process of crap, that's broken, fix it. Crap, that's broken, fix it. It's kind of like the finger in the dike. Is that the story? Is that the story? The something in the dike, finger in the dike. I'm sure there was a kid's tale I read when I was growing up. Anyway, all right. So straight to the meat of it. There's 5 elements inside of sales engine optimization. So I know that my team can walk into an established business and the business is going to be strong in at least some of these areas and it's going to be weak in others. And if we want to immediately make a boost in their lead generation or their sales, we've got to work out which area that they're the weakest in and we've got to fix it. So these are very intentionally ordered from left to right, the way that they're laid out. Tracking. So we start every campaign by really looking at, is the right tracking in place? So can we easily see, and by we, I mean, can you easily see how each bit of marketing effort or money spent is performing? And this might sound really obvious, like a lot of you might be sitting there going, duh, but I promise you now, of the hundreds of businesses whose marketing we audit every month, it would be like 1% of them that have really got the marketing, the tracking piece right. So on the very next slide, I'm going to give you some of the most commonly needed bits of tracking advice straight out of our own agency's playbook. Yeah. Positioning. Is your business, or how even if you're a business that has multiple product lines, how are each of your products positioned such that not only are they irresistible to your ideal customer, but so that you can actually charge what you're worth? Yeah. We see so many businesses that come to us and they just point of difference in their positioning, especially in industries like registered training organizations, or even with a lot of cars, like a Toyota or a lot of car dealerships and things like that, where there's like lots of dealerships selling the same thing. And there'll be no point of difference. They're all trying to use the same language as to why you should use them. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some of the most needed bits of advice and resources that you can implement straight if you have a positioning problem. As a quick tip, how to know if you've got a positioning problem: can you charge more than anybody else? Conversion. Look, conversion, quite simply, and I'm going to mansplain this, is, if you imagine a chain. Is each link doing its job of getting people to the next link, or is one of the particular links breaking? For the sake of this conversation, when we talk about conversion, I'm going to talk a lot more about particularly around things like websites or landing pages. So for instance, what sort of job is your website or the landing pages on your website doing of actually getting visitors to become a qualified lead? And I'm going to give you some resources you can use straight away to fix this. The conversion part is probably our favorite of all of these. I'm yet to see a business in the last 6 months that came to us wanting more leads and sales that didn't have a lever that we could pull straight away inside of the conversion. If we have time at the end, I'll bring up a couple of, if anyone is a willing volunteer, we'll bring up your website. And I'll give you 2 things you can do straight away after this that will give you a conversion bump. Pretty confident statement, right? Sales. Creating a well-oiled, high-converting system for selling based on value. Sales is such a funny area. Like, so many businesses we speak to, you can always tell the businesses that we work with that have nailed the sales piece. And when they've nailed the sales piece, usually what it means is they've nailed the positioning piece. Like, when you've really nailed the positioning and you've got then just a good system around sales, what usually it looks like when you go into businesses that have done that is that almost anyone in the office can sell quite effortlessly because they don't view selling as selling. It's just talking about what you do because they're that well trained. Yeah? Like when you come through, for instance, our agency's funnel, all of my office team can basically sell people get them right up to the last stage in the process. And then it just needs myself or one of the other two that can jump on and close. And there's some key wording in here. So we want a system for selling value. Like, so many people are stuck selling based on features and benefits. Yeah, and so features and benefits is like the gateway to selling on price. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to give you guys some tips that you can implement straight away so that you can stop having to follow leads up so much to make a sale, and so that you can actually charge more. And then traffic. It's quite ironic that this is the last thing we talk about, because 9 out of 10 businesses that inquire with us think they have a traffic problem. Traffic's like the sexy thing that they all want. They come in and say, I want this new fandangle whoopie doopie method. Can you do this? Can you TikTok? Can you some other crap? I want more traffic. And the reality is, as soon as you start to analyze everything up and everything to the left, they don't need more traffic. Or at the very best, they're not ready for more traffic. Yeah, like there's a saying that we have with our e-commerce customers is that more businesses die from indigestion than from starvation. Because, so like basically inside of that, most e-commerce businesses in particular, that most of their sales actually get lost in the cart and on the website, not because we're not driving enough traffic to it, or they're not positioned properly, such that that their ads don't work because they can't afford to spend what they needed on the ads campaign to drive enough traffic through the whole process to make things convert. Does that make sense, guys? I know I'm going fast. Yeah. All right, let's go through. So what we're going to do as part of this, to give you a bit of a heads up of what's to come. So over the next 5 slides, I'm actually going to go through, and I'm going to give you guys some resources you can use to fix each of these areas. Then once we get to the end of those 5 areas, I'm going to give you access to a free scorecard that you can use, a free resource, so that if you guys go through and do it, there's only about 10 questions, I think it's 12 questions in there you can do. It's completely free. We don't ask for your email address or anything. It's just a thing that you can use as many times as you like. It'll basically compare your business against these 5 areas. It'll tell you which one you're the weakest in other words, where to start right now. It's a free resource. You can come back to it in 6 months after you've fixed the biggest roadblock now, once you've broken the next thing. Pretty cool? All right, let's jump into it. So, and I'm not across the chat here. Let me just check there's no questions so far. Yep, we're looking pretty good. All right. Move that out of the way. I should keep that down there. It's probably a more professional way of doing it. Tracking. All right. So tracking's the least sexy of all of them, but it's quite funny, unless you're very analytical, in which case you probably love the tracking bit. So the best resource for getting you guys from like 0 to about 60% tracked is just the free Google Analytics. There's probably most of you sitting there going like, duh, how obvious is that? Trouble is that very few businesses use Google Analytics properly. Like the basic Google Analytics conversion tracking, I think we worked out last week alone, we audited 30 different analytics and combined Google Ads accounts. Only one of them was using a conversion tracking properly. So conversion tracking. So to mansplain it, basically going, how do we work out? It's called a conversion is basically an important action in your business. Trouble is, not all actions are equal. Like a lot of time people will go, all right, here's on a product page, here's a PDF download, or here's a video view, or here's a click through to my Google Maps to see where I am. Versus then there's someone who's filled out an inquiry form versus someone who's actually bought a product. Each of those things have very different value to your business. So most businesses, what we see is they'll either completely be not using things at all, like they'll either completely not be, there'll be certain key actions that equal leads that aren't being attracted as a lead, or they'll be assigning the same value to all of them. Yeah. And especially if any of you guys have got e-commerce businesses and you use Shopify, the Shopify tracking, it seems very good at a surface level, but it tends to, when it comes to Google traffic, try to like put it all in the one ugly bucket. So a Shopify guys in particular, if you can just close the tracking loop, go on to Upwork, find yourself someone who can do Google Analytics conversion tracking or e-commerce tracking, have them set it up. Suddenly the amount of transparency you have over the performance of your marketing just goes through the roof. All righty, the next part of the puzzle we talk about is attribution tracking. So the hard thing for most people when it comes to properly tracking how much money they're making from their marketing is we can only track as far as when a lead comes in. As soon as if any of you people deal with offline leads, it gets very, very hard to go, great, a lead came in at 3 o'clock on a Monday. I know that someone bought, but I can't put the two things together. Or if five leads came through, one of them bought, 4 of them were the biggest tire kickers that have ever breathed there. Which of those leads which of the conversions actually turned into the money in the bank? There's a couple of ways you can do it. We've created a manual resource here you can use. It's a manual resource that you can find on this page. It's basically a tracking spreadsheet. Yeah, it's not designed to be sexy. It's designed to be functional. It's more for small to medium businesses. If you use it for a month, you will gain more understanding of where the value in your marketing is than you've ever had previously. Which means if you're not sure about, like, so many people come to us and say things like, what marketing should I do next? Should I be on Twitter? Should I be on that? Should I be on that? Easy. Use the spreadsheet for 1 month. Then you won't need a fancy agency like ours. Because just look at the data. Where's your value coming from? There are some actual programs you can use. Pardot, which is the Salesforce-based program. GA Connector, the GA stands for Google Analytics. This thing used to be amazing, but as it's evolved and got more popular, it's gotten really quite pricey. This basically just connects Google Analytics to whatever CRM you use, so that you can just to help you track from start to finish. Or if you're a HubSpot user, I should say customer. User sounds like it's some sort of substance. But if you're a HubSpot customer, and you're willing to be on a large enough size package or plan, HubSpot do probably the best job of anyone on the market of allowing you to see the whole journey from start to finish. How am I going for time? We're pretty good. The bottom one down here, look, this is one that we use a fair bit for tracking organic rankings. You hear a lot of misinformation when people talk about SEO, about how you can actually see an unfiltered, unbiased results in Google search of how your website ranks. People talk about incognito. That doesn't do a damn thing. Yeah, you need to actually use something that'll properly mask where you are. Here's the best free tool that we know of on the market. Cool. These are all on the resources page. All right, positioning. There's a few different books here. One of them's from a speaker that you guys might recognize. So, positioning, resources for nailing your offer, your point of difference, and your targeting. So many businesses that come to us and say, I've got a traffic problem. I can't get all my ads. We can't get our Facebook or our Google ads to work. And when you look at it, they've just got a positioning problem. So some resources to do it. Good to Great by Jim Collins. Some books here. In particular, the hedgehog concept. Look, I'm not going to go into massive detail about this one. This is a very famous book. I mean, the hedgehog concept, he's basically talking about the fact that there's like he gives an example, there's like the crafty fox and there's a hedgehog. And the hedgehog only has one strategy for not getting eaten by the fox. All it does is it rolls up in a ball and it puts the spikes out. And the crafty fox that's never tried the same thing twice can't seem to eat the hedgehog. Yeah, most businesses just struggle to fail their hedgehog concept. This book bought me a new Range Rover. Someone has to be the most expensive. Why not make it you? This guy, a really charismatic Australian author, Andrew Griffiths. Some of you guys might know him or at least know of him. This book, I reckon it shouldn't be called that. Basically, it's like a step-by-step guide on how to be the best in your market. Yeah, this thing is amazing. We doubled our prices 2 days after reading this book, and our conversion rate of new leads actually went up by 60%. Yeah, that's how good this damn book is. And Ask by Ryan Levesque. So I'm going to talk a few times throughout this just about doing a basic survey. Like, so many businesses take years and years and years to come up with any sort of unique point of difference that is actually something that the customer gives a crap about. The fastest way to do it, you could do it in a week. All you need to do is to run a well-written survey. Yeah, we're absolutely in love with surveying here at Disrupta, because a well-written survey, not only is it allow you to instantly, like, never need a copywriter again, like every bit of amazing ad copy you'd ever want, you can get just by asking your customers the right questions. But when you do it properly, a survey will actually generate leads as well. Yeah, if you guys want a great resource for this, buy this book. Or if you want there's another way of doing it. We've got a leads playbook that basically step by step. It's even got examples in there of recent surveys that have done that you can copy. It's on our resources page. It's in there for free. You don't need to put your email address. You hit the link, it'll download. Yeah, and then concepts, going really narrow. This is something that so many people in Australia, our American counterparts get this. In Australia, people can't quite get their head around it as much. Like, one of the easiest way to stand out in your industry is just to get really narrow on the problem that you go after, or the problem that you solve. Yeah, this is a less popular strategy in Australia because there's less of us here. The population's smaller. Like, in America, it's big in the digital agency space. Like, one of my friends has a 8-figure digital agency, and all he does is he does SEO for HVAC and air conditioning people in the East Coast of the US. Like, you could never do that in Australia. But what you can do is go much narrower in things like the stage of business. Like, for instance, we only work with established businesses who are already doing well in spite of themselves. They don't have any more than one person in the marketing department, because by getting really particular on who it is that we target, we don't target, it gets much easier for us to really, really understand the pain points they have and what are the pain and pleasure buttons we need to push to get them to get their money out, or their wallet out and spend money. Yeah. All right, that's the positioning stuff. Conversion. Another one of my all-time favorite books, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. This is a super charismatic author. You'll read this thing in a weekend. This is an incredibly practical guide. Yeah. So this book alone has made us so much money. Most of the conversion improvements that we end up making on a customer's website just comes from going, does their website pass what Donald calls the grunt test? In other words, if a cave person is the politically correct way of saying it, if a cave person landed on your website, could they immediately grunt out what you do, who in the hell you do it for, how it's going to make their life better, and what action you want them to take? Without even knowing who's on this webinar, I can say now that about 80% of your websites will fail miserably. The beautiful part of this is you fix this stuff and your conversions go through the roof. This same concept that I just went through, that basically will work on any marketing piece. If it's a billboard on the back of a bus, something at a train station, a business card, does it pass the grunt test? The lift model. This thing's amazing. We love this thing. This is one of those models. I so wish I had come up with this. It's by a company called Wider Funnel. It's so damn simple. I kick myself every time I use it. So we do a lot of work with SaaS businesses, software as a service, because the problem they usually have is that their call to action are either like a free demo, and they usually struggle to get people, once they get to those pages, to actually go to finish the sign up. So we just come through and use the lift model. The lift model, basically, it's a picture of an airplane, if you Google it, and that it's got value proposition on it. So what's the value? What's the value of your value proposition? And then it's got things we want to reduce, and we want to reduce things like distraction. I can say confidently, if we were to bring up, say, like any key page on your websites where we want people to take an action, like anywhere where there's a sign-up page, or if it's for the e-com guys out there, like your cart, where we go, let's look at it, and there'll be so much distraction. There'll be so many things that don't need to be there, that if you just strip them out, you're going to get a boost. Looking at what can we add in there to add trust. It's so basic. Just everywhere that there's high friction, we need to offset that by adding trust. Yeah. Looking at what can we do to increase relevance. Yeah, it's such a simple concept. But looking at, if you've got any sort of landing page that's looking at how did the traffic get there? Did they click on a particular type of ad? What was the headline in the ad, or what did the ad talk about? Was there a particular image? And having that on that page. So subliminally, there's relevance. Yeah, and then if the last little piece of the puzzle, which most people struggle with, is adding urgency. Yeah, if you Google this thing, it'll in 2 seconds, it's like probably a 4-minute read. If you get to if you just Google the lift model by Wider Funnel, and it's all self-explanatory. If you've got a website that has any page that takes payment or has an inquiry form, use that and you're going to make more money. A couple of other programs that almost all of you will have heard of. Hotjar. Hotjar, it's basically just a heat mapping a page. So it allows you to see what people are clicking on and what they're not. So basic, but everyone seems to know about it. They try it once and then it can be gimmicky. They don't come back to it. And Google Optimize. Google Optimize is a drag and drop website builder that if you've ever used a Word document, you'll be able to use it. What we like about it is it basically allows you to do real-time split tests. I don't know why more website designers and people like this don't use this program. Like usually what will happen when it's time to get a new website or to create a new page on a site is everyone goes, oh, I think it should look like this. And a designer or someone will come up with how it'll look. You build it. Someone has to go through all the process of making it live. And then we send traffic to it and go, how's it performing? With this, you can basically do split tests and test assumptions before a developer's or a designer is messed around with it for however long to create the thing. Cool. Sales. All right. So there's some stuff in here that you guys can do very, very quickly in your business. The 4 sales hacks. Nail the problem. If someone said to me, what's the hottest trend or the biggest tip I can give in marketing or sales in 2022, it's that the person who understands the customer's problem the best wins the job. When you can show a customer that you understand their problem as well, if not better than they do, they will open their wallet and they will give you money. It's part of the reason why we love doing the surveying so much, because the surveying allows you to actually see what's the specific language that your customers use to describe their problem. Like you want to nail it so much so that it's when they read the copy in your ad or on your website, or when they hear you speak to them over the phone, they're like, holy crap, this person's been hiding in my wardrobe, listening to my wife fight in bed at night. Yeah. And sell your understanding of the problem, not the solution. This is a huge one. If you really want your sales calls to go well, like all the calls that your sales team have with people go well, talk about the problem that you're solving, not about the features and benefits. Sell an outcome. This is a huge one. Like we've got it's a bit of an internal joke here that the record amongst our sales team and myself of how quickly we've managed to close a deal is I closed a $15,000 a month retainer client of ours in the lift at Westfield. Because it took us it was a pretty busy day in the lift. It took us 4 floors to do it, and there was a lot of people. There was a lady with a pram getting in and out that stalled it. But the conversation went like this. The guy said, "Oh, what do you do?" I think he said, I like your watch. What do you do? I said, oh, look, we work with one established business. We help them to solve their biggest marketing outcome. What do? You in business? Yeah. Oh, cool. What's your marketing outcome? What's your most needed marketing challenge right now? He said it. And I said, all right, well, if I could promise you right now that I said, well, what's a customer worth to you? How much is it worth to you if we solve the problem? And I said, I won't charge you a cent until we've achieved the problem. He rated off his number. And I said, all right, well, let's do it. I had my briefcase in me. I had a blank contract. We filled it out. Did a performance-based thing. Basically, it was prorated based on when we hit the target. Took us 40 days to hit the target. He's still with us, 15 grand a month. We sold the outcome. I know that's a very extreme example, but there's so many different scenarios where you guys could actually apply that. Keep it simple. You know what? If someone said, what's the second biggest tip I could give around like what's hot in marketing, especially with like websites in 2022, is simple. Decluttered, simple. A confused mind says no. So if we were to look at various, like I just did a big webinar for, I'm not really supposed to say who it was, but I did the last webinar I did was all about e-commerce conversion. And it was the big e-commerce businesses. And one of the things we did is we brought a whole heap of their shopping carts up and we just tore them to shreds. It was just, no, pull that out, pull that out, pull that out. Everything that was unnecessary everything that was unneeded came out. The same strategy applies to most of your marketing or most of your process. Like a great way to do this, and I didn't come up with this, a buddy of mine by the name of Ari Golper came up with this, of including a trust pack. So knowing full well that there's lots of stages in the sales process where people get confused and the confusion causes them to either be overwhelmed, to want to go away and think about it, or just to flat out say no. Or to give you annoying things that they'll say to you, like, I just need to speak to my boss or my husband or my wife. And so Ari's strategy is you basically create a trust pack. Go, what would I need to send them in advance? And a physical product works best if it's how we like to do it. If depending on the size of the business, size of the opportunity, as to whether it's a digital pack or a physical pack. And we send them a physical pack for most of them. That's actually it's got a book, it's got their audit results, it's got a whole heap of things in it, because we know that if we send them this stuff, that by the time we speak to them, there's enough inbuilt trust that you've almost got celebrity status when you speak to them. Your product. This is such a huge one for us. Like for so many businesses we walk into, this is one of the first levers we pull. So for any of you guys who sell big high ticket stuff, big expensive things, be it a product or a service, especially if it's a big ticket thing that solves a wide range of problems. Yeah. And this can be a real trap because it can be amazing value, but it does this and it does that. It makes you taller and you look better and you smell better and so forth. One of the easiest ways to speed up your sales process and to make your ads work is to go, what is the one itch? What's the one thing that's the most itchy on the person's body? What's the thing that if you just scratched that, they would buy it? Like if they sit up in, like what's the one thing that'll cause them to sit bolt upright in bed at night and go, oh, I really wish I smelled better. Because if you create a way to just sell that one little bit first of all, then upselling them to the bigger product becomes much easier. You know, the classic marketing saying, the easiest customer to sell to is a repeat customer. Yeah. Doing this is a quite surefire way to make ads campaigns that aren't profitable. Traffic. All right. We finally made it to the traffic, the thing that most people want. So the first thing, you know, it's so funny when established businesses come to us, and they usually come in and they say, you know, can you do this and TikTok and something and crypto, and they start rattling stuff off. And when we actually look at what they've been doing, in order to give them a rapid boost, the best thing to do is to forget about creating anything new. What we get them to do is to fill out the tracking spreadsheet, which we're giving you guys, and just do some sort of like 80-20 audit to basically look at it and go, which traffic source or which marketing activity has generated your best leads or your best referral partners over the last 6 or 12 months, and just start by doing more of that. If you guys want like a 20 or a 30% boost straight away, that's the fastest thing to go off and do, but it's also the least sexy. And in fact, they say 80-20 audit, so theoretically 80% of your results will be coming from 20% of your customers. Lately we're finding it's more like 90-10 with businesses. Like 90% of their results have come from 10% of their efforts. And because I'll tell you flat out what no other marketing agency will tell you, starting any new campaign is risky. You should always start with what's already working. And because you use the money from what's already working. Once you've tapped that out, use that money to experiment with new stuff. If you're in a position where you really need more leads now, try new stuff. That's the risky way of doing it. Hero SEO. So my whole conversation, the next time I present today, we're going to be going through what we call our Hero SEO strategy. We call it Hero SEO because we've worked out there's some certain techniques you can do in SEO that give people an almost immediate boost. And we call it Hero SEO because, strangely enough, if you do these, we end up looking like a hero. It's not relevant for absolutely everyone. Remember, we work with established businesses. If we have more time in a sec, depending how I go on time, I've actually got some bonus slides at the back of this I can show you guys, and we'll talk about Hero SEO. I'll show you it in action. For Google Ads, for some reason, what the standard way that agencies are taught to do Google Ads is really, really strange. I'm trying not to swear. Is quite strange. So a lot of people go out there and there's actually Google certified courses, and yet 90% or even more like 95% of the accounts that we audit always have the same key mistakes in them. Why I'm telling you guys this is the stuff that if you run Google Ads, there's stuff here that you can do straight away to make your money go further. Yeah. Especially if you were to tie this in with using the tracking spreadsheet that I've told you about that you guys get access to, because you'll be able to actually see straight up. This is the specific clicks, the specific areas that are generating me money. So I'll focus more on my budget there. Conversion tracking, attribution tracking, negative keywords. What I suggest with this, rather than there'd be a whole webinar on its own, I could do just about the inner workings of how to audit a Google Ads account. If you guys are running Google Ads, I'm happy to have one of my team members do a quick audit of it, and they'll spit you out a report of the 2 to 3 things that you could do straight away to get greater value. Yeah. So if you apply for a digital marketing audit, well, there's a link coming up. I think it's even on the next slide that tells you exactly how to. Yeah. This is one of those services that shouldn't exist. Like you shouldn't have. Let me say that better. It's quite disgusting that we find the same mistakes in like 95% of all the Google Ads accounts we look at. But unfortunately, that's just how it is. Works out well for us. Alrighty, we got to the back, and we're doing well for time too. The sip of my coffee and my Star Wars cup in it. All right, 2 resources for you guys. The low-hanging fruit marketing scorecard. Quite simply, I showed you the 5 areas, the 5 pillars in sales engine optimization. This is a scorecard. You can just pop your details in. It'll ask you for your first name only. It won't ask you for an email. It'll probably take you if you do it honestly, it'll probably take you about 10 minutes to do. It'll score you against the 5 areas so you know where to start. You could then come back and use the resources that I've given you in these slides, and you're going to be able to make have a good go. Thanks, Russ. You're going to be able to have a good go at fixing them yourself. For anyone who's serious about ramping their marketing up fast, you're welcome to apply for a digital marketing audit. if we will earmark that you've come through Dale, and for most of them I'll do myself, please be aware, this isn't the marketing support hotline. Like we tend to get a lot of. We spent about 6 months when we ranked our website #1 on Google for like best SEO Sydney. And what happened was the phone would ring at 9 o'clock at night with someone saying, "Oh, I've just changed this and I broke my website. Can you give me some free advice?" So we pulled all the SEO out of it, and we've kind of gone in a different direction. If you're serious about making an impact on your marketing, you're willing to invest in yourself, then by all means, happy to talk you through, the options that we could work with you on. Cool. All right. Let me just check. Let me just run through the questions here. And if there's no big questions that I need to address, I'll jump into some bonus stuff and we'll show you some cool SEO stuff. Angela Connell, I can highly recommend the marketing audit. Thanks, Angela. Has anyone got any questions they want to drop in here real quick? No, we look pretty good.
I might just quickly jump in here. First of all, I want to say what you've presented so far has been amazing. So let's give Nathan a huge, big round of applause. Well done. Thank you. And perfect for time as well. So we've got another sort of 5, max 10 minutes to go. So if you want to do any demos or answer some questions, there's a couple coming in right now. One has come in from Anthony.
Good one, Anthony.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, good, really good question, Anthony. So Anthony's asked, if we make our landing pages too simple, does that have a negative impact on SEO? Yeah, well done, mate. Look, sure. So Google loves words, right? There's certain industries and instances where Google doesn't need many words to rank as well. But for most of what you guys sell, words are going to help you. There's ways to serve both masters, though. Like I can show you, I'm going to struggle to bring one up right now, but I'm happy to talk to you after. We can show you examples of plenty of pages that have done a great job of ranking really well and having the right content in the right places when people need it, like through strategically used drop downs and things like that, but not having the design being overwhelming. Yeah. So when it comes to a landing page, you really want to be responsible for how do we help people to mentally know that they're absolutely in the right spot as quickly as possible without having to burn any calories or do any thinking. Thinking's going to be your enemy when it comes to conversion and landing pages. So we want to have any images used, we want to portray the exact aspirational identity that the client is longing for. Yeah, everything on the page that before they even have to scroll should be funneling them into taking the exact action that you want and having them to know everything they need to know. That they don't want to have to. They shouldn't have to actually give any thought to it. You can accomplish that you have that purpose and have it be very, very simple and minimalist, but then still have plenty of sections that you use content in the right way. But and design-wise, potentially a straight-up ads landing page versus an SEO landing page would often look a little bit different because your SEO one will have more content. Great information. Please show up examples. Samantha, you want me to find any? Tell you what, I can do this right. I'll find you an example. Come to my next presentation and I'll finish with an example because I've got a bit of a gap in between. I can find you one. Cool. Do you use publicity in your marketing? Look, we don't. Yes and no. I find that when we do everything, the other marketing right, we do get a bit of publicity. We do a lot of pro bono work for some really cool charities and stuff like that. And for them, publicity does work, but personally, we're not really a publicity type agency. Would love to see the hero SEO slides. Well, we got, Dale said we can push through to one maybe, so I can bring them up. See you at the next presentation. Do you suggest A/B testing of landing pages? 100% yes. 100% yes. Cool. So let me show you guys some hero SEO. So here's a strategy. Cool. Thanks, Ross. So here's a strategy that pretty much anyone who's ever had a website rebuilt can find useful. So something that shouldn't be a service that we offer, it shouldn't be a service that exists, but unfortunately it is a thing called SEO recovery. So let me do this. So hero SEO, undoing previous developer stuff ups 101. Key principle, developers are the enemy of SEO. So I do a lot of bagging developers. We have developers on staff. They're a necessary part of this whole industry. The trouble is that the very nature of what it takes to be a good developer, the way they have to think makes them completely useless when it comes to understanding SEO. And so what we find is that developers have a habit of looking to build the most complex solution for the simplest problem. And in doing so, they strip out the SEO. So there's two programs you need to use to be able to do this. There's a program called SEMrush, which you can get a free monthly trial for. And there's a free program called the Wayback Machine. If you just Google the Wayback Machine, it's going to come straight up. The Wayback Machine allows us to look back in time. So you could go back as far as the record as they've got. So if you had a website rebuilt, it's been rebuilt twice. Let's say it got rebuilt January last year and, 5 years ago. You could actually go back and look at both previous versions of the site. Why that's important is most of the time, so often, in fact, I had one yesterday, we get about one a week. We get a client, someone that comes to us, a lead that says, I've paid all this money, someone rebuilt my website, and this happened. We'll chugging along, and then can you tell where the site was rebuilt? Look what their traffic did. These guys, a national IT provider, they spent about $100,000 on this website. And in the end, they decided they were going to leave it broken because they were stinging so much for how much they spent that they didn't want to spend the extra 20 grand it was going to cost them to fix what the developer broke. Some other examples, and these examples are pretty old. I've got more recent ones we can show because we get them that often. It's scary. Here's a big ASX listed company. These guys spent a similar amount on their website, went from 9,000-ish monthly organic visitors down to just over 3,000 over the span of, I think that was about 11 days we worked out in the end. They basically come to us here. All we did, nothing super fancy. We went into the Wayback Machine. We went back to before the new site went live. We basically rebuilt the 3 to 4 core things that the developer had stripped out. And I'm going to list what they were in about 2 slides time for you guys. And hey, presto, the site went back. This is a fun one. This is this is Queensland's biggest franchised vet. What do you call them? Like vet franchises. The developer was kind enough to tick a box in the settings of the website that blocked Googlebot from being able to read the website. We fixed it. 8 days later, same developer unticked the same box, fixed it again. Hey presto. So how this is relevant to you guys? So many of you, if you were just to jump into SEMrush and sign up for a trial, if you've ever had a website rebuilt and you know for a fact that you used to get more sales than you do now, it'll be one of these areas that you need to go back and change. And these are ordered in from most commonly stripped out to least. So it's almost always someone had this bright idea that you used to have all these pages that look like X, and now the actual URL looks like Y. Yeah, and it's almost always because the developer's got, it's usability. It makes sense to yada yada. But you don't care about usability. You care about how much money is entering my bank account. Yeah, there's ways around it. This is another one. This one we're going to talk about the magic of this afternoon when I do my next talk. We're actually going to go through in the next talk. I'm going to show you guys live examples of how you can basically find areas where the titles are under optimized. You can fix them, and we're actually live on the webinar. I'm going to show you the sites jumping up through the rankings. Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anyone here who's had a website rebuilt in the past that you know for a fact You can share ours, Nathan. Thanks. Is there anyone here that knows for a fact you had a website rebuilt previously and it doesn't rank as well as it used to? And that you're willing to share? No, we may not get one. I can't really show you the one from yesterday. I don't really have their permission. You're doing well, Russ. Hey, killing it. Yes, just no, but yours won't look as good. At least one. And you don't mind if I throw that up, Philip? We're just about to launch. Has it been real? We're just about to launch the website. No, we can have a look. Let's see what we got. I'm not quite sure if it's actually. Let's do this. Let's do this. Move everyone out of the way. This is my next example for the next session. I'm not sure whether you fit the brief here, whether this has actually been rebuilt. But no, this isn't showing the issue we wanted, buddy. Oh yeah, you've had a spike. That'll be more algorithmic though. That bigger increase to that. Interesting. So like the point of this exercise, there's different things you could do. So this has had times where it's had far greater rankings than it actually does now. So there's various things you could do. So based on the fact that, let me do this. Looking at these areas, you pretty much know that something in the times that it performed better before, it'll likely have been because these two things here were different than they are now. Assuming that this is because of a developer's gotten at it. So one thing we can do is actually go back in time. We can go, what were the high ranking pages and what were their titles back in May is what you'd be looking at.